myself again, but it's the only way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Geordies here, Geordies there, and I'm just reading a Newcastle NUFC Matters First 11 team sheet, which has been sent in by long-term viewer Dodo Bird. Now, most of you who watch the show will know that Dodo Bird likes to send things in on the odd occasion, and when he sends them, they're very thorough. And I'm going to have to read this out now because it deserves an airing. So thank you, Dodo Bird. Okay, so the new NUFC Matters First Team 11. And this is the team sheet. Number 1, in goal, Mitch, the Geordie dentist. Big favourite with a crowd with a no-nonsense attitude. Sometimes too laid back, usually against goalposts with a beer and a cigar. Strengths, clearing crosses and corner kicks. Not adverse to taking opposition's teeth out without an anaesthetic. Attacking midfield, Steve Twinkle Toes Hasty. Impact player, probably because he's always late getting away from the food bank. And by the time he's washed and brushed his hair, only 10 minutes left. Rumoured to be light on his feet. Centre-back, Liam Join the Dots Kennedy. Apparently, Liam did a forecast and FA Cup final appearance for Newcastle as a training session by joining all the 22 dots on the tactics board. Sadly, he interpreted these as the 22 stops on the London Underground from King's Cross, alighting at Wembley. It's only because he's a Geordie he gets away with it. George, Uncle Albert, defensive midfield. One of the team's most consistent, experienced players. Nullifies opposition's attack by telling them numerous stories from a bygone age, before, during, and after the game. Once got thrown off the away team bus going home on the M6 trying to finish one of his stories. Now that's real gamesmanship. What a pro. Wing forward, Keith the Lawyer Patterson. A welcome late addition to the team and just the man to vigorously protest, my lord, when it comes to bad referee and VAR decisions. Objection sustained. A great little player, but if he spots a lookalike in the opposition team, he can quickly turn from Alan Ball into Norman Wisdom, a genius or a liability. Wing forward, Holly the Young'un Blades. This girl can change a game with a drop of a shoulder, body swerve and shot at goal in true Peter Beardsley style fashion. And although the term man-on may have a different connotation in football terms to what girls may be used to, I'm a certain mixed-gender footballer is the way forward. Although goal celebrations like taking off your shirt must be strictly personal choice. Looking forward to seeing Holly bobbing up and down the wings. Al-Walid, wing-back. This lad bleeds black and white and is happy to swap bags of sand for bags of coal. Only problem is his film star good looks will make the rest of the team look pug ugly and spoil the team photograph. Having said that, he will attract loads of lasses in the Newcastle bars and even the leftovers are bound to be an upgrade for the rest of the team. Bound to be worth a few bob and okay for a sub. Utility player, Stu the Bulldog Penman. To be honest, just put him in to make up the numbers. Seems to talk a good game and can always join his mate Mitch in goal for a few bevies and a bit of banter with home fans behind the goal. Although when it's the away fans, you just know it's going to turn into a fight. He's sort of got that look about him. Ask him, he'll tell you. Centre-back, Steve the Hitman Rafe, captain. Football history has given us many real tough guys. Norman Bite-Your-Legs Hunter, Ron Chopper Harris. I could go on. But Steve Wraith makes Jack the Hat McVitie look as frightening as one of his soggy rich tea biscuits. Mean, moody and magnificent, although him and his signature clap-clap song makes him not quite so intimidating, I've got to say. Inside forward, John Hacker Gibson. Supplies the bullets for Big Mal with his infamous defence-splitting balls. John puts it down to telepathy. He says, I've had the pleasure of playing with Malcolm for a long time now. I could find him in the dark. This is something we practice just in case the floodlights go out. Centre forward, Malcolm, I couldn't agree more, MacDonald. When asked about his tremendous pace and acceleration, Malcolm confessed the real truth about his Olympic 100-metre sprint qualifying time. Unadulterated fear, he said. Yes, the fear of being adulterated by John Gibson's defence-splitting balls. Surely the irony of this revelation must come as a real shock to John, knowing he had a real football scoop right under his very own nose. Speaking of which, stop the press. Breaking news. Mick Lowe's, Chief Communications Officer and Club Guru, announces exclusively on behalf of NUFC Matters that Holly's dad has just been appointed first-team coach. Oh, sorry, I meant first-team coach driver. Also, 2 other off-the-field appointments have been made, but don't tell Inland Revenue. They wanted cash in hand. They are John Woof Woof Woof, Dog Patrol Security Officer, and Steve Wilco Wilkinson, Club Entertainment Officer. He'll know Norman wisdom. Congratulations, everyone, and well done, Dodo Bird. I told you it was a long one, but it was well worth it. A lot of time and effort went into that. Thank you very much, Dodo Bird. I did have to clean some of it up, I have to be honest, but apart from that, it was pretty much it was pretty much as written. So thank you for submitting that, mate. You've given us a laugh anyway. Lads, the 3 words, I guess, well, the phrase I want to say is we did it. A win, and a comprehensive win, and a 6-pointer, George.
Yes, I mean, this is a happy platform, isn't it, tonight? It could be anything else after last night and all the other things around it. And the start of Newcastle United taking the lead in the community, a basic wage employer, for all to see. Nobody that works at St. James's Park is going to be underpaid. They're all going to get the right coin for the job. And I think that's fantastic, because that'll spread through the city, because every other employer of people in the entertainment area and hospitality area has got to take notice of that. And I think for Newcastle United to be first, and it's a good sign to see what having these employers in our city are about. So that's a good start. Second start is whoever decided to buy Trippier and get him for the money they did should be getting a bonus now, because this is no ordinary fullback, no ordinary footballer, to be honest. I mean, everything he does just oozes class. I mean, there was a what I call a Hail Mary ball from Shah last night, and it stayed up there long enough to get snow on it. When it came down, Shah didn't even break it. Trippier didn't even break his pace. He killed it and moved on without any alteration at all. And the defenders around were just absolutely flummoxed. So well done, fantastic from him. But having that confidence, it spreads across the team. I mean, that was a renewed Jamal Lascelles. Yes, he was involved in the own goal, but the rest of the night, there was very little wrong about Jamal last night. That was the old Jamal. And the new lad on the left-hand side from Aston Villa, well, I'm not surprised people were trying to buy him. We've got another excellent fullback there. And as you go through the field, you're seeing how it the way we played and Trippier's impact particularly. I mean, Willock was back as being a player that you could recognise as
improvements there, George, isn't it? Improvements there. Absolutely. He's carried on from where he left off at Leeds. He was improving at Leeds. Couple of weeks training, a bit more drilled into him, and he really improved last night.
Absolutely right, and you could see it. And of course, it going further. I mean, you lads know that 6 months ago I was for ditching Fraser and goodbye. Well, he seems as though he's got the message, because he's a different player all of a sudden. And there's been some criticism by some press people about Wood not getting a goal. Well, have a look at what Wood was doing when Fraser got his goal and when other goals went in. The defenders were wetting themselves in case Wood got on the end of the ball. And that's what centre forwards need to be able to do. Like I keep saying to you, I'd be happier if Joe Linton could find a way of making a nuisance of himself. Well, he just needs to watch Wood, because he does it very nicely. So all in all, what a fantastic night all the way around. And as I say, for me, starting off with that news during the day about the basic wage employer business, just to emphasise that this is a club that's in the community now and doing community things. And I think it's absolutely great. And plus, the feedback from the owners, they're not frightened to be seen. I mean, we had an owner who was almost paranoid at getting his photo in the paper. Well, current owners are far from that. In fact, they almost encourage it, which is wonderful. To see them celebrating those goals last night was fantastic. And the Rubens as well, they're keen to chip in on the Twitter and other platforms to see how they feel about it. It just has such a good feel last night. Absolutely fantastic. And I couldn't be happier today.
Steve, I'm sure that's the same for you, mate. It's been an amazing couple of hours, I guess, for me, just reading through the messages before I came online, because I tend to stay off social media after the game, and I won't post anything after a game, as you know. But just reading through some of the comments from the players, from the owners, from the media, from fans, it's been a happy place to be, social media today.
Yeah, and Newcastle's been a happy place as well. I mean, the place was buzzing last night after the game in the Strawberry. Everybody was talking about the match. They were talking about, and there was a smile on everybody's faces, and everybody wanted to chat to each other. It was great, and it was back to the old days, wasn't it? It was what we've experienced back in the day, and we've been on a downward spiral for a while. I mean, George is talking about Trippier there. I think, if I'm perfectly honest, when I saw Trippier playing for England, when I saw him playing for Tottenham, didn't see much of him playing for Atletico Madrid, because I'm not one for constantly switching on continental football or Spanish football in particular. And I would be probably one of those people again during the Euros that would have said, "Oh God, he's rubbish, him," because you tend to be a bit. Now, you can see the quality in the man, in the player, and you can see what the likes of Gareth Southgate can see in him when he's selecting him for England, And I think sometimes we do look at players with a critical eye when they're playing for England, because they're not Newcastle players. But I think now it's given me a whole new insight into watching players' performances, and I think it certainly helps seeing them live. Seeing the way that he's controlling the defenders, the communication that's going on, it's absolutely brilliant, and that makes a quality footballer, and we're actually seeing that on St James's Park on the pitch, and we've seen it for 3 or 4 games now, and you're highly impressed with the guy, and he's taken to Newcastle as well. You can tell he's taken to Newcastle. So just using that as one example, I think that shows you the sea change that we've got at the club at the moment, Steve.
Yeah, it does. Stu, must have been great just watching it and seeing the team put in such a great performance.
It was amazing, and the fact that they won 3-1 made it even better for me personally, didn't it?
Yeah, it was your scoreline, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, do you know what people say? You must lose money. Well, that was our 22nd game of the season, and by pure chance, the odds were 22-1. So I'm a tenner up. So with the rest of the season to go, I have to be careful what I'm saying, because the wife's watching. I also had 10 pence on Fraser first goal in 3-1 at 125-1.
Wow.
And the reason I've got to be careful is because tomorrow I'm working at the main mall here in Bahrain, and she's going shopping with the credit card. So it was only 10 pence, and that's all I had on it. So, but when I was watching it last night, I know everyone's waxing lyrical about Trippier, and rightly so. And I just thought, what a clever player he is. The intelligence and the composure, how comfortable he is on the ball, and it doesn't matter if there's someone near him. His intelligence to play the right pass under pressure, and it has to have lifted the rest of the players. And we can also, I think, take a step back to praise Jamal Lascelles, because again, same as at Leeds, he was a colossus last night. And I think, for one, he's out of his comfort zone. And I'm sure he's not the only one, but it looks like reality's hit with him. The pennies drop, whichever phrase you want to use. There's real competition for each place now. And this is what makes the team better. This is why we'll climb the table quicker, because there's no I can have a couple of bad games. I have to raise my game every game, because there's quality sitting on that bench. There's quality not even in the squad that are desperate to get a game now. And so I think that the trip to Jeddah has given everyone the lift that they need. And just as another thing for ourselves, because he has, and sometimes rightly, taken criticism, you've got to give praise in equal measures as well. But can anyone remember, was Richarlison playing last night?
Yeah, he was.
That's
in
how
his
good
back
Lascelles
pocket.
was. Exactly. That's how good Lascelles was. And this is a £50 million Brazilian forward. We've got the best Brazilians. And talking of the Brazilians, we've got Joe Linton, who I think we should nickname Ice Cube now because he freezes every time he goes in the box. But apart from that, he's again, it's as if he's looking forward to playing with Gomes. And I seen a clip yesterday where he drove him into the ground and he had a bounce and a step about him. The way that's the team have actually embraced the changes, and they now believe that they want to be part of this. You know, a lot of them are thinking, "Oh, we're going to get chucked out anyway." They've all been given an opportunity to raise the game, and if you look at Joe Willock's performance last night, again following up from Leeds, it's chalk and cheese to what's been produced, and it's so pleasing to see that a player that we know can and play really well. He never stopped running, and for the second game in a row, his second half performance was outstanding. You know, so the Duracell boy, as he might become known, and I know he had to get taken off at the end, but he was everywhere, and the closing down of players, and that's something you learn at school, is that you run at players when they've got the ball, you make them pass it quicker, and that's what forces the errors. And the crowd yesterday, from what I could hear, it even surpassed the Manchester United game that me and Mitch were at just over Christmas period. It's the feel-good factors here, and we've preached long enough on these shows that we should just be enjoying this. And now I think everyone's on the same hymn sheet, you know. So I'm just delighted to watch them last night. I'm delighted to say that I support Newcastle United, and I can't wait for the next game. And I think we're now 62 or 63 days unbeaten, as I posted last week, about 50 something.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and that's the key to survival: getting runs together and 4 games unbeaten. You know, however many days it is, but you know, two draws, 2 wins, and you know, the momentum's carrying the team forward. And if they keep putting the work rate in and the graft in and the the nastiness and the tenacity and the all of that that showed last night, the commitment, they'll stay up. There is no doubt about it. They will stay up. Sure. And scoring 3 goals last night was the key as well. You know, that wasn't so much of a problem not conceding when you're scoring. And how many times have we done that? Not enough. We killed the game off against a team that's struggling, and you know, we've given ourselves a great platform. Especially could have done with Burnley losing. Obviously Man United had a goal disallowed, but you know, the defeat of Watford by West Ham, was good enough, and it gives us some breathing space, gives us a chance now. So got to go on, got to beat Villa. Al-Walid, you've had a shave for the occasion. Is this in celebration of the game, of the win?
No, actually, I do this like every 2 months or 3 months. Actually, it was a great game, and of course, better management, better player. Of course, it will lead to better results. I feel there was like a rush of new blood in the team. I can say at least 40% improvement. The team was decent, and sorry to say that, but this is not the Newcastle I used to see last 2 years. This is really it's looked like a different teams. Team was fighting, and I was really impressed. And I think all the social media the fans impressed of a Trippier spirit, which was contagious. All the players were leading by him. Everything a lot of things change in the team, but still there is few mistakes. Also, I would like to to see it disappear by time as soon as possible. I noticed some Maximin was great, but sometimes he need to pass the balls. He need to pass the ball a few occasions. Also, as Stuart says, the second half was much better. The first half, I wasn't actually really happy about it. But the team, we have to understand that the team, they have a new players, still the chemistry and they still need to play. This is first official game for the new players, and I'm really looking forward for Aston Villa game, and I bet it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah, Mitch, I think somebody used your phrase in the chat there. I just put it on screen. Mark Byers, I think it was, shithousery, which I quite like.
Absolutely.
You coined that phrase on Twitter, and you were right, weren't you? That's what Trippier showed last night.
Oh, he got up everybody's nose and under everybody's skin. And I was talking to a Spurs fan today about it at work and saying to him, did he do that when he was here? He says, no. He says, that's something he's obviously learned at Atletico with Simeone. And I tell you what, though, how effective that was. Not just at disrupting everything and getting up their nose, but creating a togetherness within that squad. You know, you could see numbers of examples where Trippier went across and made a great tackle against, Lascelles made a great tackle on Townsend, and then he gets a slap across the head off Trippier, Matt Ritchie style. And that's all about creating that togetherness and unity within the team, that we're all together and we're going to stand up to this. And I think Stu's got a story probably for in a wee bit that will show exactly how that resonated. Exactly how that resonates through the entire team last night and the entire squad.
Tell it now, Mitch. Tell it now before.
I go on, get it out now, and then it's out there because this is a cracker, absolute cracker.
Right, I will say allegedly for the sake of NUFC matters, but I've been told from someone who witnessed this that when the game finished, for those who watched on TV, I was, although ecstatic about the result, there was a challenge by Dele Alli on Joe Linton where he stamped on him. And it looked like the ref was like, oh, let's just blow the whistle, let's get them off the pitch. Well, once they're in the tunnel, I'm really surprised this hasn't come out. So this is an exclusive, if you want to call it an exclusive. Once they got up the tunnel, they squared up again, and Dele Alli was saying some unpleasantries to Joe Linton, who promptly put him on his arse. And as Dele Alli got back up, Chris Wood intervened to try and play a peacemaker, and Dele Alli went for him. So Chris Wood promptly put him on his arse. So for all those who wanted Dele Alli signing for us, and I kept saying no, he's a bad person, we don't want him, he's a rotten apple, etc. This is what happens, but it shows a togetherness. And it shows that they're willing to literally fight for each other and get stuck in, and they believe in themselves now. And that confidence will carry us up the table. So, like I say, I will have to say allegedly, but I was told by someone who witnessed it that that's exactly what happened.
So I guess now, Mitch, his ringtone on Dele Alli's phone will be Chumba Wumba. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
I get up again,
and then get knocked down again.
I'll stay at square, down, keeper and down.
Classic Hasty.
Brilliant. But I mean, you look at that, and that stems from, I think, totally from Trippier in the way he was. I mean, he wasn't just outstanding athletically and from a football point of view. In every way you want to talk about leadership, it was there. But then you go through the team. Dubravka did all he had to do. Lascelles' best game in a long time, like that's already been said. Shea looked reasonably assured, didn't really look as jittery as he has done in the past few games. Target looks like he's going to be one of these 7.5 to 8 out of 10 every game solid citizens, and you need a bit of that in a team. Love the look of him. Then you look at our midfield. Shelvey, I thought, instead of being a liability when he was on a yellow card, looked more intelligent when he was on the yellow card. The yellow card seemed to calm him down, and you could see him being considered. There's a couple of times I was going, oh, don't dive in, and he didn't. Whereas I think 6 weeks ago, he'd have been off. Willock, again, second half, where does that energy come from? Just like against Leeds, second half, the graft, unbelievable. And Joe Linton put himself about, and you feel sorry for him in a way, because then when he got in the box, that move when he lost his foot and then hit himself in the head with the shot, it was typical mix of old Joe Linton and new Joe Linton. But I think he's obviously buoyed by the addition of Guimaraes to the squad. When he come on, we had a wonderful little 7-8 minute cameo from him. I cannot wait to see him in the team. Playing 90 minutes. It was like bringing on a Rolls Royce. You could see just the pure quality. And then the front three, Wood, dear me, he gets some work through some work. And like my dad was saying earlier, clatters into people, makes a nuisance of himself. I've twice, and I've never seen a centre forward is able to do this. He can flick it on and then catch it up, and he flicks it on to his cell. Fraser, work rate. What a different player we've got in Fraser at the moment. And the way he took his goal, it was a bit of a shank, but they all count. And I thought absolutely, to see that smile on his face when that goal went in was really buoyed me. And then Saint-Maximin, what do you say about him? When he has a night like that, that's why you keep him in the team, because you want to see nights like last night, where even Lampard said in the press conference he was unplayable. Yeah. And what I liked about him yesterday was end product. He looks like he's starting to twig on about when to pass and when to have a pop himself, and it's getting better and better. I saw a stat today. Apparently, he's been involved in a goal or a goal-making situation in 7 of our last 11 home games. That's something that sort of passed me by when I sometimes moan about his end product, because let's be honest, I have done. I think there's plenty of examples of us online moaning about Saint-Maximin and end product. And I love him to bits. And when you get that Saint-Maximin, I'm willing to take the odd bad pass and the odd selfish moment, because he was towards the end of the game, he's dragging 4 players across with him.
Yeah.
And if he's going to start to do that earlier in a game, that's going to open up opportunities when we've got, say, Guimaraes in there, when Shelby, is switched on and wants to play some of the clever passes that we know he can play. And I'll take that Shelby that we had on the pitch last night every day of the week. He looks more motivated, looks like he wants to put an effort in. And like I say, it's not that long ago, he would have been off with a second yellow quite easily.
Yeah.
And that yellow card actually seemed to make him think. And so, you cannot fault. And a little special word as well for Murphy, coming on and trying to match the work rate of Fraser, and then hitting the post and then coming back out off the post. I reckon he could do that 200 times and it would only happen once more.
I swore then when he hit the post. I thought it was
I think there might have been a few naughty words in Goodfellas as well when it didn't go in. But it really looks like everybody's been lifted, not just by the signings in the window, but obviously the work that Howe's had to do with that squad to get them fit, to get them motivated, undo 2.5 years of laziness. Really, I gather they were back in today. Now, under previous regimes, today would have been a day off.
Yeah, West Brom were on a day off. West Brom were off today, I think.
It's so you can see a massive difference, and it's not just signing players like Trippier. I mean that performance as a right fullback was probably one of the most complete performances of a right fullback in a black and white shirt that I've seen personally. I think you've got to.
The upsetting Warren Barton, but at the end of the day, he's the best right back I've seen, Mitch, in my 38 years as a fan.
I think the only one I can maybe go to is Venison, because we got him kind of at the tail end of his career when he'd already done most of it, but he then improved under Keegan and managed to get himself an England cap, which he hadn't done before. And I think when we had him that first season, when he come in as right back, he put a few really top class performances in. But I still think Trippier's last night blows all of those out of the water.
John Anderson, Warren Barton, Barry Venison. Yeah, it's a good shout, but Kieran Trippier by far has been the best I've ever seen. Okay, half an hour to go. Don't forget on this show, Geordies here, Geordies there. We want you to put a question forward. So get your questions in for George. I'll ask it before the end of the show. We also have a regular feature where we ask you to send in photos of Geordies here, Geordies there, Geordies everywhere. And this one was sent in by Ugly Camel. I've got a feeling this isn't quite a family relative, mate. People with two shirts on in exotic places. The wife on the left and the wife sisters in Almaty. Steve Hasty's quickly putting his glasses on and leaning in. I'm afraid that could be a bit of a setup, like. But if that is your wife, best of luck, sir. And this one is a real one, I think, from Eddie to Steve Wraith. He says, Rabina on the Gold Coast in Queensland.
Brilliant.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Keep them coming in. Send them to me at Steve Wraith on Twitter, or send it to the lads and they will pass them on to me. And don't forget to get your question in for George. I will come to it. Okay, I did highlight a question earlier on. Here it is. Dan Hunt. Saw a question on Twitter today, he says, and wonder what you lot think. If you were offered £100 million for Saint-Maximin in the summer, would you sell? My answer is no. George, would you sell him for that kind of money?
No, I don't think so. Not the way we're going. If we can keep him happy, he'd be worth much more than $100 million because he's so unpredictable. And if you're going to have a team that does something special, you've got to have at least one person who's unpredictable. He's at the moment, the way he's playing, he's our George Best. That's how high I would put him.
Wow.
And you think 1 minute you're going to spit out horrible words because he's done something daft. Then the next minute he'll run the length of the field. No, I wouldn't sell him for $100 million. No, I'd want a lot more than that.
Wow,
he could be so important to our team.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, Steve Hasty, same question to you. I'm going to go around the panel with this one.
Right. Yeah, short and sweet. No. Why would we want to sell him? We don't need to sell him, even for £100 million. The only issue you have with Joe Linton is the theatrics. When it's not going his way, the arms, the false limp, all of that type of thing. But that will, as soon as he starts to get goals, and as soon as referees start to protect him a little bit more, which I think he does need a bit of protection at times.
Yeah.
Some of the challenges he gets accused of going down too easily, and it's not that. And the referees are just wave and play on, and I think that frustrates him a lot. But I think he's an absolutely quality player. We all, let's face it, in Newcastle, we've always loved a ball player. We've always loved someone who can take people on, can, drop a shoulder, that type of thing. It's so exciting to watch. And I think I read somewhere that he's done something like 100 and odd successful dribbles this season, and the nearest one to him is somebody on 45. That says what the man can bring. And what he also does is he creates space for others. And if we can then get Chris Wood and Willock when he's piling forward, to start to exploit some of that space that he creates when he's being double tapped by, or sometimes triple tapped by defenders. Because let's face it, that means there's a gap somewhere else. And Mitch mentioned it earlier. You get him to release that ball that little bit quicker, the head up, and make the decisive pass rather than the extra turn. He could be, an absolute world beater, and no need for Newcastle to start selling players even for 100 million. That's chicken feed to us now.
It is chicken feed. Stu, would you take the money and run if we were offered 100 million for ASM?
I would just echo the words of Mr. Hasty there. And isn't it nice to say it? We don't need to sell anybody for any amount of money. We sell whoever we want, as long as we've got someone better to come in. And the only player I would want in the whole league that I think could improve our team in front of Saint-Maximin would be Phil Foden. And I can't see us getting him for 100 million either, so no need. Keep Saint-Maximin, he's learning. But also what's happening now, he's getting support. Now we know that he's not passing a lot, but sometimes he's got no one to pass to. And if you create the opportunities for him to pass, it creates the doubt in the defender's mind, and this allows him to exploit. The only thing that we need to do with Saint-Maximin is let him do whatever he wants, as long as he's professional enough and focused enough to help out with the rest of it. But also, if someone can take the pebble out of his shoe that he seems to hobble about with occasionally, then we've got a world-class player.
Okay, same question to you, Al Walid. Would you sell Saint-Maximin if the right money came in?
Of course not, but I'm actually kind of worried that maybe I think Eddie Howe will work on it, of course. Saint-Maximin and Bruno Guimaraes, they are same, like they are both key players, and I don't know how they can be play together. We noticed in a few minutes of Bruno there was some misunderstanding in last attack, last chance, and for passing the ball. It seemed before last time we noticed that Saint-Maximin was the only solution, maybe we can say, the only solution to score. We saw this a lot, especially with Steve Bruce. So this will change, and already been changed. We have he's one of the other solution we have. We have another solution to score goals, as we see yesterday. But actually, I'm worried about also next season. Hopefully, next season and coming seasons, we didn't just want to avoid relegated. We want the team to not waste any point. We want to win games. So the thing that we just want to be safe and to be a hero, that okay, we save the team from relegation. This will end this season. We're looking for Europe seat in the next season. So he really need to. He can improve really, and he can be more. Needed to be more teamwork with the other players, especially the new ones.
Okay, Mitch, it sounds like it's going to be unanimous, but you wouldn't sell ASM, would you?
It's up to him. If we get more of the player that played last night, 100 million's undervalued. Massively undervalued in the current market. And if he goes on the trajectory he's on, it's entirely up to him. He can be anything he wants at Newcastle United now, going forward. You can be anything you want, Alan Saint-Maximin. Because there's players like Bruno are going to come in the summer. When let's assume we're safe and we'll stay up, which we've given myself a hell of a chance at, which looks so different now. And it's up to you, Alan. What do you want to be? I know from the discussion that was had here in Dubai when he popped over to Dubai after the Saudi trip and spent some time with a couple of pals of mine and Lee Clark and Danny Guthrie of all random selection of former Newcastle United players here in Dubai. And his love for Newcastle United's absolutely spot on and true. There's no doubt about that when you hear him talk about it. And anybody who surrounds him picks up on that. He's happy. And so we have to encourage him to grow with Newcastle United. And we can give him a platform to be the first name on France's team sheet for the World Cup. We can give him a platform to be... He could be for us what Mo Salah is for Liverpool. He just has to want it enough. And 100 million for a player like that is undervalued massively. So no, not for 100 million. Look, somebody was to come along and make some ridiculous offer, but that ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. The way world football finance is at the minute, there isn't somebody stepping up. Even when some of these cockamamie sponsorship deals that are going to get Real Madrid and Barcelona out of a little bit of the mire that they're in, kick in, they've got their own internal problems to deal with. There ain't somebody coming along with a big hat full of cash to offer for Saint-Maximin in the summer. I'm convinced of that. And 100 million's undervalued. And it's up to Alan. We can give him a platform to be a world household name, potentially. And I know that might sound nuts. It sounds nuts to hear me saying that. I'm not prone to hyperbole. I'm not prone to getting carried away. But on the basis of last night, when you got somebody like Frank Lampard calling them Frank Lampard calling him unplayable.
Yeah.
Unplayable. You think the players he's played with and the players he's worked with in his career, that's a huge statement from somebody who has no emotional connection to Newcastle United. And so 100 million on current form, undervalued.
Okay, good stuff. We've got a question in for George, and it's from Mark Edward Brown. He says, ask George any memories or stories of St. James's Park in its various old guises. He says, my dad still raves about the atmosphere in the Leazes End when it had a roof in the 60s or 70s. So any special memories or times of the ground as you've seen it, George?
Oh, just talking about the Leazes End puts hairs on the back of my neck. I can remember the hordes of Rangers fans that came over the barrier and wanted to stop the game in the Fairs Cup. I mean, can you remember that? That certainly was an exciting time to be there. But even further back, I mean, there were big games where we were involved, particularly cup games, when because there was the roof on, the Leazes Row, if you want to call it that, was contained, and it used to come out quite fiercely. However, the Gallagher Corner was also give a great atmosphere as well. But there's no doubt that the Leazes End, because of the roof, just made it that little bit special. And as I say, one of the first things I thought about when he said Leazes End was watching those Rangers fans get up over the barrier onto the pitch when they looked like they knew they were going to get a paste in the cup match, first cup match. And I think the other ones, of course, was seeing. The other remember I have about the Leazes End was when Brian Clough made his debut at St. James's Park for Sunderland. And Clough was attacking the Leazes End, and somebody at the Leazes End threw an apple at him. It hit Clough on the shoulder, and he bent down and he picked the apple up, took a bite out and threw it back. And typical Brian Clough, that's another Leazes End memory. And the one personal memory I've got is Barcelona. The first Barcelona game, I didn't think I was going to get there because, remember, it was a reduced capacity because the ground was being redeveloped. I think it was only 38,000. And I'd almost given up when my ex-friend, Charlie Woods, had played for the team. I met him at a presentation thing, and he said, "Are you going to the match?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, you're coming with me. I've got a couple of tickets. You can come with me." Well, little did I know, the players, even when I was a junior, the tickets you got were usually for the paddock. Well, there were so few tickets that the tickets they give Charlie were for the Leazes End, and that's the only game I've actually personally watched from the Leazes End. And it was okay, but you had to be prepared to move because the crowd just picked you up and took you forward, and much easier in the Leazes End than it did in the Gallagher End. Those concrete barriers at the Gallagher End seemed to have a much better space, and yes, you got crushed and moved, but the Leazes End you just got picked up and took it with you. So that's another personal memory for the Leazes End. I don't know whether that helps the answers the question at all.
Well, it's a good one. It's a good answer. Good question. Thanks very much for that. And we'll have another Ask George question next week. ASM may frustrate us fans. You ask any opposing fans, you also say ASM is some player. You build a team around him with the same quality players. All 25 squad members. Yeah, a lot of people saying just keep a hold of him. And NUFC TV says, why sell him? We don't need any money.
No, we don't.
Lots of people saying that Trippier is fantastic. I like this one from Billy, though. He says, Trippier is unbelievable, but he's no Malcolm Brown.
Ray Ranson.
Ray Ranson, oh God, lucky Ray. How exciting it must be for the young academy players having a club going places. What an opportunity for them. Yeah, definitely is the case. Eamon says that Steve Hasty is the Omar Sharif of the show, as he seems to have an eye for the ladies, even with his glasses steamed up. Kirk says we have ASM. Soon every team that puts 2 or 3 around ASM will have to worry about other players like Bruno threading a pass through to Wood and Wilson. Yeah, George, I'll come to you on that and then go around the board. It's how big a blow is it losing Wilson until the last few games of the season? Can we get through without him?
Yes, I think we can, but the timing couldn't be worse, could it? I mean, the one man that was almost guaranteed to get at least a goal every other game, or a goal and a half every other game, suddenly disappears, and you think, well, how we're going to manage? Chris Wood's been bought as a centre forward, but he's not never been a prolific scorer in the way in which Wilson is. However, for me, he'll create chances for others, and I think that's what he's done. The big plus for me is that when Wilson's fit, I've got a sneaking fancy, and I hope he tries it, that Howe will find a way of playing the two together. Can you imagine those two big blokes with their movement and their pace and their strength against Premier League defenders? It would be fantastic just to see if they could do that, and I'm sure it must be in Howe's mind. But it couldn't have happened at a worse time, Steve. That's the answer to your question. Yes, it's awful, but we've been resourceful in the past, and I think the difference now is, I think from the back forward, we're a stronger group of players. And those that are there, including Wood and others, and Fraser and those that are getting the goals, should get a better supply of ammunition. That's the other thing. So it may not just be leaving it up to Wilson. Others may be getting goals. But it couldn't have happened at a worse time, Steve.
No, it definitely couldn't. I'm going to break off from the normal show just to bring in somebody who did send us a message on Facebook. It's Simon. Good evening, Simon.
Evening, Steve. Evening, lads.
Hi,
Yeah,
Simon.
good to see you. Good to see you, Simon. You reached out to me on Facebook just about something you wanted the show's help with, and I'll let you have a chat, mate, and then I'll stick the link for the GoFundMe page into the chat so people can see.
Thanks very much. Right. Well, what we've got is a mate of mine, Brian Renton, his son, Ryan. When he was 19, he got leukemia. He plays for in the Border Amateur League for Tweedmouth Amateurs up here in Berwick upon Tweed. He's had this leukemia, which has now developed into a lymphoma, and we've exhausted all the things that we can do with the NHS, although the Freeman Hospital has been very good. So now, unfortunately, we're going to have to try and fundraise, and we need to try and raise £500,000 to further his treatment. The Freeman have prepared a full statement of all his condition and everything else, and that's now being circulated in America, Spain, and Israel, and they're choosing the next treatment going forward. But as he's at this late stage, the family and the community around Berwick, we're all trying to club together and raise what we can. So in the past 5 days alone, we've raised £36,000, which has been really good. And we've set up a GoFundMe page as well. I've spoke to the club as well. We've had help in the past with sort of raffle prizes and various things. The players have done little short video clips for other people in our community who've unfortunately got cancer or had cancer as well. So we know they're always good from it, and those people have a lot more influence than we do up here in quiet sleepy Berwick upon Tweed. So that's really my reason for coming on tonight, is just to see if through the reach of the NUFC Matters community, where people could, if they spare £1, it all helps. We know times are hard for people as well. It's hard to come on begging for money off people, but his family really are at the end of the tether, and we've done quite a few things. We had a really good five-a-side competition, and we raised a good amount of money back in last year when he was getting his treatment at the Freeman, and we donated that money to the Freeman. So we still keep going. This has sort of come as a shock that there's nothing much more that the NHS in the treatments they have can do.
Simon, very touching story, mate. I've stuck the GoFundMe page in the link. There's over 500 people watching live tonight. So hopefully, as you say, Simon, if people can put £1 in, just £1, that would go a long way to helping this cause. And if you keep us updated with the progress, Simon, and if you've got any events coming up or anything like that, you're always, feel free to drop us a line and we'll get you back on the show to promote them, mate.
Super, that's great. Great game last night. I gave my ticket away to somebody, so I didn't go. But I'll be back there on Sunday.
Well, onwards and upwards. It's isn't it nice to be talking about positive things as far as football's concerned, Simon? Because that's it's an enjoyment. That's what it's supposed to be, and it's been a misery for 14 years.
Yeah. What was Bruno's little back heel like out of the corner? It was
sublime.
A touch of class. There's class all over the pitch.
Simon, can I ask you a question about the Renton family? Any of them involved with the magistracy at all? Any of the magistrates?
No, there's nothing like that. His dad's a brickie. I've known him most of my life, and they're just an ordinary kind of little family. Just had some. You don't know my age. It's probably his granddad that I was thinking of.
Great stuff, Simon. Thanks for your time, mate.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you.
Take care.
Best of luck, Simon. Best of luck.
Bye-bye. If anybody can donate, please just see the link in the chat. It'll be there over the next 10 minutes before we finish. Yes, Steve. I mean, Callum Wilson injured. It's a big blow. Wood isn't the kind of person who's going to get you 10 goals between now and the end of the season. I still think he'll get us a couple of match winners. Does a hell of a lot of work, wins the ball in the air, lays it off, and I think he just needs a goal as well. He's been struggling this season per se. He needs that goal, and he'll get it. But he's not going to get with the 10 goals. Is Wilson going to be a big miss? Yeah.
I thought he had a goal last night, didn't we? Put the ball in the back of the net and got disallowed, which was unfortunate. It was just slightly offside. But yeah, I mean, naturally, a player of Wilson's quality is always going to be a miss for a team, and certainly a miss for us. But I think what it's done is not having Wilson there's kind of Eddie Howe's had to reshuffle. He's had to rejig and change the style of play slightly. Wilson, it was very much a ball over the top and you can run onto, whereas with Wood, it's very much a sort of a holding and allowing him to then allow other players to come in. So it's relying then on the midfield and relying on the SM to be a little bit closer. I think that those little things will happen. I think you're right. There's always an opportunity for, and it would be great to see the big man and the slightly smaller man. I'm not going to say a little man, slightly smaller man in Wilson alongside Wood, because Wood has always played with a partner. He's never been a lone striker himself. He's always played with a partner at Burnley. He played with a partner at Leeds, although he tended to be a little bit isolated, but he did score goals. And I think that the two of them could blend really, really well together. Laying off and with the difference between, say, Wilson and ASM being close to him is that with Wilson you've got a natural striker, someone who knows how to play off somebody and knows what he would be looking for that sort of outlet ball and that little sort of being alongside. Whereas with ASM, he's very much a skills man and a taking on into the ball and doing a lot himself. So yes, of course it's a miss. It's bound to be a miss. It's just disappointing when we heard during the press conference earlier in the week that he could be out until possibly the last couple of games of the season. But the way we performed last night, the way that the team performed, and that's the main thing, the way that the team performed, a fantastic team performance. I'm not as worried with Wilson being out as I was this time last week.
Yeah, okay. Stu, your take on the Wilson injury?
Before that, Steve, because I'm on the show and I'm not in the chat, can you send me that link on WhatsApp and I'll donate £50 out of my winnings from last night towards the Renton family for the fund.
Oh, nice one, Stu. Nice one, mate.
But I've got a couple of things to say. To me, I'm not bothered if Wood scores 10 goals. He's got a role to play, and I think he's playing it well. What he's doing is he's taking defenders out the way. He's giving them something to think about. Imagine, would we have won last night, or at Leeds, or drew with Man United? Or he didn't take us Man United, but would we have got those points if he wasn't on the team? Because defenders have had a really easy pass against us. But since when Wilson's not playing, Now he's a presence and he's a nuisance, and they can't leave him alone because they know that he has the aerial ability. He can hold the ball up. He can bring other people into play, and it showed, especially last night. People are willing to run off him now. They're willing to go the extra few yards, which they haven't been doing for a long time, a couple of seasons, 3 seasons, whatever. They've been willing to do the craft. So I think Wood's role is pivotal in this team, and it shows that we can get goals. Of course, I'm a big fan of Callum Wilson as and when he's fit, but who would you take out if you play the two of them up front? You know, because for sure Guimaraes is going to come into the team, and isn't it nice that he's hardly been mentioned tonight? When I think before the team was announced yesterday, I think we all thought today's show would have been based around Guimaraes' debut, wouldn't it? And he's hardly been mentioned. That's how good the other players were. So it shows it's a team game. And just in fear of repeating myself, they've all got roles to play, and I think Wood's doing his brilliantly. The one thing I want to mention about last night, it's not often that we look at the opposition players, but I was really, really impressed with young Anthony Gordon for Everton. I thought he was confident, he was assured, he wanted the ball, his delivery was good, and he just oozed quality. And if we're looking to build a good squad, we could do worse than put a cheeky bid in for him. So that's just my opinion from Everton. We've got to say something good about him, haven't we? So that was that. But Wood, I'll keep him going. He'll get his goals, and as you said, Steve, he'll probably get 1 or 2 winners when we've had our backs to the wall and you know you crash in. Let's get him on first goal on Sunday and 3-1.
Yeah,
So
and yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. Wood. I think Wood will get a few goals. I still think he will. I think he'll be a key player. Al-Walid, Callum Wilson. Were you shocked to hear the news that it probably won't be ready until the end of the season?
Actually, yeah, because the friend he asked him during the game in Jeddah, he said, "I will return in 2 weeks," but maybe it was return to maybe practice, maybe just not for the games, directly to the games. Maybe that's what he meant. Regarding Wood, actually, I think he's trying maybe too much, and he used to play in certain way in Burnley. So with the new and we're still not organized. Maybe yesterday was much organized, but before yesterday game we weren't organized, and his the style of play more individual, I think, in Newcastle. So he didn't get much the chemistry of the team and the style of play. In addition, he also doing great by holding the defenders, the center backs of other teams. And we notice Fraser. Who remembers Fraser when last time he scored? So he really doing a great job. And I think, as you say, guys, he needs just to score 1 goal to give him a bit of relax. And no need for the number 9 to score as long as the team winning and other opportunity for other players. This is what all matter.
Yeah, Mitch Wilson being out, I think it's more or less erring on the side of caution from Eddie Howe, which again shows a common sense approach. And you have to get the rest of the team scoring goals, and we scored 3 goals without him last night. So is it so much of a blow?
I think it's frustrating, and it could be he's either had a bit of a setback, or somebody in the medical team's dropped a bollock in terms of how bad the injury was. You just don't know. They seemed laid back in the window that they were going to go for the French lad, and he seemed to be the only striker that we were seriously talking about looking at. And he was a bit of a gamble anyway. It's 30 million at 19-year-old, like I said last week. Are you getting 19-year-old Thierry Henry? Then happy days. If you're getting 19-year-old David Billion, not so good. And so I think there didn't seem to be a massive urgency to get another striker in once we'd secured Wood. I think Wilson didn't help us and himself on his podcast with the BBC last week when he said that we needed to sign another striker before the deadline. And you think, well, why are you coming out with that? That's not useful. Whether it's just an enthusiastic slip of the tongue, or whether he just found out that the injury wasn't as good as he thought it was. You don't really know. But I also have a problem about how teams in the Premier League report injuries. So I'll not witter on about that again. And in terms of Wood, his importance, I think, is undervalued. And I think just patience. While we're winning and while we're scoring goals, I don't matter who scores them. Let's take 10 own goals off of somebody's backside. I don't care if it wins with the points and gets with the safety. Doesn't matter where they come from. And there's opportunities for people like Willock to start finding the back of the net again. Fraser scored okay. It was a bit of a shank, but they all count. Saint-Maximin will chip in with these contributions. Shelby's free kick the other week. Trippier's free kick, last night. We're now talking about where our goals can come from is multiple places. We're not just looking at Callum Wilson to be the saviour. And when he does come back, what a wonderful addition to have sitting on the bench.
Nice choice.
Absolutely, isn't that a wonderful, wonderful dilemma to have? Is which way do we go on the striker? Do we go with a solid big lad? Do we go with a lad with a bit more movement and pace, or do we try, as has been suggested, to pair them up and see how they can work together? That would mean a very different change of formation. But I think we've got clever enough players now in that squad to cope with that, and I'm quite sure there's a plan. We look like a team now that has a plan A, plan B, plan C, and a D ready. Whereas, before you weren't even sure if plan A was in place, and I think that's the beauty of this is Callum Wilson coming back. Yeah. He could be a wonderfully fresh addition to our match day squad towards the end of the season. That might just put the willies up a few people.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to because obviously we're coming towards the end of the program. There was a question, I can't find who asked it. It was a simple question, so it's a quick answer. Gallagher or Leesers, George? Which is your favourite end?
Oh, Gallagher for me, Steve. I'm a very traditionalist, and that's where the family went, into the Gallagher corner. Sitting on the wall round the cinder track when I first went, when I was just a tot. And then we went and stood not far from the 10-minute flag in the Gallagher corner.
Catching peanuts, no doubt.
Yes.
For a tanner.
Yeah.
Richard Naylor says, and I'm going to ask you this before I ask the lads that question. He says, George, as someone that is older than you, what is your memories of Jeff Allen? My memory is of him playing in Feyenoord. He was a class winger, but injury prevented him from progressing.
Oh, absolutely. He's answered his own question. Jeff Allen had the potential to be a fantastic left winger. He was a fantastic left winger. Very clever. Could score a goal when he needed to, and his dead ball delivery was second to none. But as he said, he suffered a series of really terrible knee injuries, and then you get me back onto my rant about how Newcastle used to deal with knee injuries in those days, because we lost so many skillful young players with Newcastle taking the insurance money, in my opinion, far too quickly. Jeff Allen was one of them, but he was. And the other thing is, I didn't know him very well personally, but all my contacts would say, and anything I've seen about him was, what a nice guy he was. He was a super guy as well, very friendly, very helpful. So yes, he's absolutely right. A brilliant player, really skillful player, who's a sad loss to Newcastle United. And as I say, I think he's one of a number of people whose careers were cut early unnecessarily, so that allegedly, in my view, I could be wrong, NUFC could get their hands on the insurance money.
Yep. Okay. A good answer to a good question. Steve, Gallagher or the Leesers?
It's a really interesting question, because the history being that the Leazes End was the Cop. That was the singing section. That's where all the singing came from. That's where the heart of the Newcastle United support was. And you got to remember, in those days as well, the Gallagher End was often given up to away fans, certainly sections of it. And then when you got to the Cup and you got into the latter stages, when lots of fans turned up, like Forest, for example, you know, it was virtually the entire area of the Gallagher End that was given up. It was the removal of the roof that ruined the Leazes End. Was never really a good enough answer for many fans back at that period of time as to why it happened. For me, I stood in the Gallagher, watched like what most of my pals, and one of the reasons I did was because it was rough as hell in the Leazes End, and also I used to love watching the scarves burning. You could see it from the Gallagher End, and you could see the little scuffles, and you could see everything that went on from the Gallagher End. But yeah, I mean, I was a Gallagher End person. I started off on the paddock with my dad. I remember being there, but yeah, when we're on going on our own in the 70s, it tended to be the Gallagher End for us.
Okay, Stu?
Both. When I was younger, I was in the scoreboard for a long time until I got tall enough and hard enough to go into the corner. So most of my youth was in the Gallagher, and now it's a question that was asked about when I was working in Dubai. Would you like to own a property in the Burj Khalifa? And I said, no, I like to have one opposite it so I can look at it. You know, it's just status. So I quite like going in the Leazes End, where you can see the Gallagher and you can see the flags that are on display, the fantastic display and work that war flags do. It's nice to be able to see it. And I just think because the couple of times a season I can get over, if I was sitting in the Gallagher, I wouldn't get to see it from behind the flags, if that makes sense. So now I prefer to sit in the Leazes, but I've up until recently, I would have always said the Gallagher, hands down.
Okay. Alwaleed, now you've only had the experience of the Gallagher End, I think. But, I mean, just from being in the ground and sampling the atmosphere as you did, where do you think, if you lived in England, would you like to stand or sit in the ground?
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I didn't get the question.
If you lived in England, where in the ground, St James's Park, would you like to stand?
Gallagher End.
The Gallagher End? Okay, good stuff. That's good enough for me. Mitch, same question for you.
Black sheep of the family, Gallagher End, but the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Not the corner. I was always scoreboard. Good memories of being in the scoreboard. Keegan's first goal, celebrating with Tony Loma, who, you know, basically went to school with when he scored. Squished up against the fences, you know, it was that was teenage heyday. So yeah, scoreboard.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be the scoreboard and the corner in the Gallagher. I started off in the scoreboard, but then I progressed again to the corner when I was old enough. Because you always had to be of a certain size and dimension, and you know, to go in the corner. It was mental in those days. The movement up and down. You could literally start at the back and end up at the front if you weren't careful. And you know, you had the obstacles of those concrete barriers to navigate as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you weren't in control of your own destination. The scoreboard was always more civilized, but there's a great photo between the scoreboard and the corner, and there's a few of them where they're going hammer and tongs at each other, the scoreboard and the corner singing at each other. And then you had the more reserved left-hand side of the scoreboard who literally just stood there. It was more for the old timers, and people with radios and that.
That was Paddock where the season tickets in the Gallagher was. And that was why I stayed in the scoreboard, because when I got my first season ticket, I wanted to be in the Gallagher End, but ended up in Paddock. So what we used to do was we used to go in and then jump across into the main scoreboard paddock when the police weren't looking.
Yeah, it's kind of like a retro show, this. It's a classic. Big shout out to Stephen and Ditchy in the comments. Both Everton fans. Fair play for you to come down. Ditchy rang us this afternoon and congratulated us on the result. Opposite end to where they scored the 3 against us is his favourite end, he says. We'll see you down at your place, mate. Thanks for the phone call today. Okay, Newcastle play Aston Villa on Sunday. Steven Gerrard et al. Visits St James's Park. No team news as such, other than we know that Target won't be able to play because we're playing against his parent club, so he is ineligible. We do know the referee is Craig Pawson from South Yorkshire. The last time we had him was a 1-1 draw against Manchester United. And we know VAR, which, as I always say, is usually turned off when Newcastle are playing, is Paul Tierney. The game is live again on TV. This time it is on Sky Sports. It is a 2 o'clock kickoff at St James's Park. And as always, these days, the game is sold out. George, give us your prediction for the game against Villa.
3-0.
3-0, says George. Steve Hasty.
Oh, hey, it's a bit early for a prediction from me because I'll probably be asked again on Friday.
You will be, but your mind might change when the teams come out. So give us an early prediction.
I think it'll be 2-0 win. 2-0 win for Newcastle.
2-0 win. But we know on Friday when we do the Three Amigos that the cup will have team news by then. Stu?
Do you need to ask?
3-1. Albert? Yeah, unmute Albert.
Yeah, 2-0.
2-0. And Mitch?
2-1.
Right. Mitch, set a reminder in your phone, please, to bring your lucky dice for Friday.
Well, I'm going to give you a very Dubai answer. The cleaners put it somewhere and I don't know where it is.
That's a very bloke answer. Nothing to do with being Dubai. Okay. And then you're doing the usual bloke.
I'll try and find it. I'll try and find it.
Get your dice, get on your hands and knees after the show and try and find it, mate. Okay, I've got a little announcement to make. I've got a couple of fundraising things which I'm going to be doing over the next few months of this year. The world record firewalk is taking place on Saturday, the 14th of May. It is Rainton Arena in Durham, and it's 6:30 arrival, and it's £35 to enter. Now, this is to help smash the world record. I'm going to do this for the Bradley Lowry Foundation. And if anybody wants to join me walking across hot coals and help break a world record, then you can do it by going to the website, and you can see the website at the top there. I'll post it, and I'll do this over the course of the next couple of months. I'll keep giving this a mention. But it's and it is wfirewalk.co.uk. Now, when you join a team on there, you just need to join the team by saying join Team Wraith. You see at the bottom by entering the code NUFCM at the checkout. So if you put that in, you'll be in my team. We can do it together, and we can help break a record, and we can help raise money. And if you come in on that way, you're going to help me raise some money for the Bradley Lowry as well. So get yourselves involved. Saturday, the 14th of May. Newcastle play on the Sunday, so there's no clash with fixtures or anything. So it should be a really good event. That looking forward to being involved and raising some money for charity. But I will stick that up again as we go on. Tomorrow morning, I'm doing the show with Super Mac and Gibbo at 10 a.m. Because, like the Queen, I have a couple of birthday celebrations, and my birthday celebrations are starting early. So I'm out tomorrow evening. I won't be in tomorrow night, and hence the show will be at 10 o'clock. And then I've got to go to somebody else's birthday party on Friday night, which means that the Three Amigos show will be at the slightly earlier time. I think we agreed 4 o'clock, lads, didn't we, on Friday? Right, yeah. Yep. So 4 to 5:30 on Friday will be a fix of the Three Amigos, as I've got to go and see a fellow Newcastle fan for their birthday. So looking forward to that. But been a great show. We have gone into extra time. Thanks, as always, to George, to Steve, to Stu, to Albert, and to Mitch. Apologies that Steve Wilkinson couldn't get on. He had issues with a puppy in his house, as you can hear, and he decided that he would give it a miss this week, but he'll be back blowing on all cylinders next week. But until then, take care, lads. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Talking to myself again, but it's